Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and dear audience. We welcome all of you on behalf of Conflict and Resilience Research Institute and Rotary Club of Winnipeg Peace Builder Committee during City of Winnipeg's Anti-Racism Week to a special webinar and a guest speaker, Ms. Patricia Kumbakisaka. And this is going to be a very interesting session as she will speak about her works and how she envisions the anti-racism actions in the city of Winnipeg. Traditionally, we also start with the treaty recognition. We would like to recognize that Conflict and Resilience Research Institute is located on original lands of Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the original lands of Métis nations. We respect the treaties that were made on these territories. We acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past, and we dedicate ourselves to move forward in partnership with indigenous communities in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. Ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned, this is an interesting episode of our journey to combat racism in our own city. So let me introduce our today's speaker, Patricia Kumbakisaka. And she was born in Bucharest, Romania, and grew up in Athens, Greece, and immigrated to Winnipeg, Canada at the age of 10. Her parents are originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo, and they were working in the diplomatic field. Patricia is also fluent in French, English, Greek, Swahili, and Romanian. So there is no issue conversing and communicating with her at all. Now residing in Ottawa, Patricia is a foreign policy researcher and strategic communications and partnership coordinator in the International Cooperation Department at the International Association of Political Science in collaboration with UNSC in Ottawa, and she recently got appointed as the 2021 Global Ambassador of Canada for Youth Opportunities, which is one of the biggest international youth organizations in the world with a great network of amazing young professionals doing extraordinary things. Congratulations, Patricia, on behalf of all of us. She has received multiple Canadian and international leadership and global awards. She conducted a project called Canada's Diversity Advantage, and with this project designed to engage 120 youth in an interactive sharing of multi-generational lived experiences that will cultivate a deeper understanding of the historical journey of different individuals who have contributed to building Canada as a nation and shaping its shared heritage. Patricia studied international relations and foreign policy at the University of Manitoba. In addition to that, she also completed a course in peace building and conflict resolution in the University of Ottawa. And she recently completed research work with the Institute of Cultural Diplomacy of Berlin in Germany. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a unique pleasure to introduce Patricia to today's discussion. And here with me today in the room, we have Mr. Gary Senft. He's the Vice President of Rotary Club of Winnipeg Peace Builder Committee. And we have Suangai Muvingi also joining us in this very important dialogue on anti-racism. So welcome both of you in this room. The way we would like to navigate our today's session is we are going to invite Patricia to speak and share her ideas, and she's going to use a PowerPoint. And once we are done with the PowerPoint and her part, then we'll open up for a facilitated Q&A sessions. In the meantime, dear audience, feel free to write your comments in the Facebook and YouTube channel of Conflict and Resilience Research Institute Canada. And we promise that we'll highlight it and share it with Patricia or other distinguished guests, Mr. Gary and Muvingi, who are also in the room, so that they can answer your questions if you have anything. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, dear audience, here is Miss Patricia. Hi.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for the lovely introduction, Mr. Kauser. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Je suis très contente d'être ici. I'm very happy to be here and share with you my presentation. Okay, I am all set. So today I will be talking about diversity and inclusion, global to local to global. So I will be sharing a little bit with you guys about my story and how diversity and inclusion has been a huge part of my life, whether from when I was a kid and also through my career and also through living in Canada right now. So to tell you a little bit about myself, I was born in Bucharest, Romania in April of '89. I lived in Romania for 3 years, and my parents were posted in Bucharest because they were working in the diplomatic field. They were there from 1985 to 1992. And these are some of my childhood photos. So I ended up in Romania, as I mentioned, parents were working with diplomats, and they're originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo, the capital city of Kinshasa, and Congo that used to be known as Zaire during that time period. So DRC is one of the largest countries in Central Africa and one of the richest in minerals. So my family traveled from DRC to Romania, as I previously mentioned, in '85. So after Romania, we moved to Greece, Athens. That's where we got posted after that. And I was 3 years old. And Greece is mostly where I grew up. And I remember all my very best childhood memories. And I got a chance to attend Greek school. I got a chance to understand the Greek culture. And I still keep in touch with all my friends that I have there from my school. So here is just a picture of myself when I was in kindergarten. So I was enrolled in Greek school. My parents wanted me to understand the culture and be familiar also with the people and the language. So it was very interesting going to Greek school because I was the only Black kid at the school. So I really stood out. I remember my first day, everybody was, staring, they were curious, they were asking where I'm from, and then I had to experience like this different culture, learning a different language. So that was a very interesting childhood. But I do remember learning a lot about the culture and also got a chance to share, about, I guess, my culture to the Greek friends that I had. And there's more pictures of my elementary school years. And that's great too. So to explain a little bit how it was like growing up in different countries, for me, like I mentioned, I got a chance to understand and embrace the different cultures. So with that, I am able to speak French, English, Greek, Swahili, and Romanian. Now, you may wonder how I speak Swahili for not being born or lived in Africa before. Well, even though I never been to the DRC, I still learned the Swahili language because that's a language that my parents sometimes speak at home. And I got a chance to listen and to learn it through them. And also, I'm also learning Lingala because that's also one of the main languages that is spoken in the DRC. So the chance of growing up in different countries is, of course, having friends from many different backgrounds and also learning the different ways those different cultures express themselves. By that, I mean like how to talk to people from those kind of cultures because everybody, greets everybody differently and eye contact is differently and hand gesture and all of that is what I have learned living in those countries. So where am I from? When people ask me that question, I always laugh because I always feel like I have to give an entire thesis of where I'm from. And it's a long question for me, but I always say, I am Canadian. And of course, people ask, were you born in Canada? I said, no, I wasn't born in Canada. And the first assumption people get is, were you born in Africa? No, I wasn't born in Africa, but my ethnicity is African. My roots are African, so they're from the Democratic Republic of Congo. but I was actually born in Romania and I grew up in Greece, Athens. So I identify myself as a Canadian of African origin, Congolese origin, Romanian by birth, and I guess Greek by heart, because that's where I grew up. So this is kind of a tricky question for me that I always have to deal with when people ask me where I'm from, and when they hear my accent, they cannot figure out where it's from because of all those languages that I speak. It's quite a mix. So I'll explain a little bit how it was like for me to move to Canada. So I moved to Canada when I was 10 years old, and that was in February of the year 2000. Of course, good old Winnipeg, known as Winterpeg, and it was absolutely cold. So imagine moving from the plus 35 weather in Athens, Greece, to the minus 35 weather in Manitoba. And I continued my grade 5 here in Winnipeg. So I went to Princess Margaret School. And in grade 6, I went to École Taché in Saint Boniface. And for my high school and middle school, I went to MBCI, which is the Mennonite Brethren Collegiate Institute. And for my university, I went to the University of Manitoba. I just want to quickly explain why those schools. Well, grade 5, Princess Margaret, I went there because when we came to Canada, we stayed in North Kildonan. So that was a really good school that was recommended to us by the new friends that we made here. And I was put in École Taché because, again, my parents wanted me to capture the French Canadian that's spoken here because, as I mentioned, I speak French, but the French that I speak is different type of French. I would say it's a Belgian French. So I had to get used to the Canadian French and to be able to understand it. So that is why I got enrolled in École Taché. So my life, to explain to you about my life in Canada, when I moved here from Greece, it was not very hard for me to adapt. However, the only thing that I had to adapt with was language. So even though while living in Greece, I took English lessons, but technically, to be correct, English should be my third language and not my second. But now it's flipped to my second because I use it more than I use my Greek. So while living in Greece, I was enrolled in English schools after going to elementary school in Greek. So I was learning British English, but then moving to Canada, I had to, again, go through the English additional language course to have a sense of Canadian English. So another experience, I guess, I got when moving here was things like small things like culture shock. It was little things like, very simple, like I was used to always call my friends' parents by their, Mrs. Smith or Mr. Smith, but here, they just call me Barbara. So again, I was young and I was not used to calling, my new friends here, parents by their first name. So that's an example of a culture shock I experienced here. And also there were things like, in my family, we're very, what you say, if we invite people over, we invite them over to have fun, to eat. But again, like there were small things here I noticed is sometimes people say, let's have a potluck. So I didn't know what was a potluck. So it was like, oh, you have to bring food when somebody invites you to their place. So that's just an example of a funny culture shock that I have experienced here. And to talk about the diversity life, I would say when I moved to Canada, I wasn't very shocked, to be honest, to see a lot of people from different backgrounds. Because again, if we go back to my childhood, even though I went to Greek school, I was the only Black kid over there, but outside of school, I had friends from various different countries because my parents were working with the diplomats. So they were going to these events. They would bring me and my siblings, and we had friends from all over the world. So it wasn't a bit of a shock for me when I moved to Canada. And that picture is just the very first friends I made in Canada at my first school here in Princess Margaret. And we went to the Winnipeg Zoo. So why did I get interested in international relations? Well, again, because I got a chance to live in different countries, understand different cultures, and being curious about different cultures as well, and how they interact and how they work. So I would say at a young age, I'm not going to say maybe when I was 5, because when I was 5, I wanted to be, a policewoman and a vet. So a very different career. But I knew as I got older, I wanted to do a work or project that involved working with many different diverse countries, collaborating together and making sure, my country, which is Canada, now get to work well with those other countries and interact very well. So now to explain a bit deeply some of the challenges and difficulties, whether it's in my personal life or my career life, I was told by some people, I was too young to dream that big, like, no, you can't dream that, that's, you're not that experienced, you can have dreams, but you're not going to achieve that. So believe it or not, I was told by some people that, very discouraging messages, but I kept my head up. I had good support team by good close friends and by family, that really encouraged me, and also by strong people who were there for me as good mentors. And I was told way overly educated, at such a young age. So I'm not even sure what that means, but I guess it just means, like when people meet me, sometimes they don't know these things about me until they start talking to me and they're just blown away. So I don't have that, when you see me, you don't know that I've done all those things. So I do get a lot of people saying, oh my goodness, you've done so much at such a young age, that's a bit too much, and not in a good way. Like I've been told that not necessarily in a good way. And then I guess some other things, when I would travel with like some of my past international internships that I've done, I would be randomly selected at the airport, even though I am nicely dressed and I have a paper that says, let's say I'm going to the United Nations headquarters for a presentation, they would still ask me, oh, what are you doing there? What do you do in Canada? How long have you been in Canada? Even though, my passport says I am Canadian, and all those questions and assumptions that could be, because based of my skin color. So I put strong and confident there because all those things that have happened in my life has made me more strong and confident. So I didn't let those things kind of pull me down as well. So I just kept going, and I understood diversity inclusion since young age because those are the things that I knew as I was growing up. I had, I guess, white friends, Spanish friends, any other friends. But at the same time, I knew I was different. And I knew that as I got older, I would have to be facing some challenges as well. So I was mostly preparing myself. And of course, I had my family also being there for me, and also my very close friends as well. So how did I face obstacles? So again, at my previous slide, I mentioned all those challenges, and these are challenges that have happened everywhere. So it can be in Winnipeg, it can be when I lived in different countries, or it can also be when I traveled at my internship work. So how I faced obstacles, I was self-confident, I was tenacious, I was determined, and also I got a lot of encouragement from people who are very dearly and close to me. I'll talk a little bit about my achievements. And before I get into that, to get into those achievements, I'm not saying it was easy. It was very challenging. I had to go through a lot of big steps, like small and big steps, challenges, obstacles. But again, like I have this picture of this lady going up the stairs and the hand holding the key, and if you look at those stairs, there's there's spaces between those stairs, and those spaces can be, like it's not easy to get to each step. You have to you have to go slowly. You have to look at your feet when you go each step. So that's exactly how my life has been. So some of the achievements that I've done was, as you know, in 2021, I got appointed as Global Ambassador of Canada with Youth Opportunities, and which is one of the biggest international youth organizations in the world, with amazing young professionals doing extraordinary things, both local and international community. 2020, I got nominated, and I was nominated as Canada's Accomplished Black Woman. So my story will be published in the 2020 100 Accomplished Black Canadian book, which should be out. It was supposed to be out last fall, but it should be out this fall due to COVID. So everything has been a bit slowed down. Women of Influence, 2018, I developed the Diversity and Advantage Project. When I was 28, I went to the UN headquarters in New York for the UN Youth Assembly, where I got a chance to represent Canada as a junior delegate, and I got a chance to collaborate, with different mission diplomats, private sectors, and talk about global issues and youth work. 2019, Citizen of the World. 2016, again, I represented Canada at the UN Youth Association in Romania, and I was only 26. In 2018, I was one of the people who gave the Catalyst of Change Award to our Prime Minister on International Women's Day. So that was quite an honor. And briefly, 2017, I was nominated Young Woman of Distinction in Winnipeg here, and 2017 Young Leader of Canada and Future Leader of Manitoba and Jeune Leader ici with Radio-Canada. So those achievements were done because they're a mix of my work and volunteerism and my passion and what I like to do. But in order for me to get these achievements, I would say I'm pretty proud of it, but I would also say, it was not easy because it had a lot of challenges and, a lot of things that I had to encounter. So where do I live right now? Well, physically now I am in Winnipeg because I'm working remotely. So due to COVID, we can't be to the office. So I moved to Ottawa in 2018, and I've been living there since. Like I mentioned, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So again, I decided to come home. I was supposed to stay home only for the Christmas break, but it got extended. So I'm here in good old Winnipeg City, which I'm happy to be here. So I've been very busy by working on various projects. As you know, I do lots of foreign policy research, strategic communication with the International Cooperation Department and the International Association of Political Science. And on top of that, I work at a union as well in Ottawa, for federal government employees in the government relations sector, where I support over there. And I do a various volunteering on top of that with the Canadian International Council, Canadian Association of International Development, and many others, such as Cooperation Canada, where, you know, I'm able to help out in international relations issues and contribute to our country. So again, as previously mentioned, I was appointed recently as the Global Ambassador of Canada, and this is quite an honor because I don't think they've had like a Black person doing this position, a Black Canadian, I would say. So this is quite good, and I am glad to be, you know, kind of the face for the youth, and you know, I hope to have, I guess, inspired more young people to also get involved and participate and understand. And this program here is not just for people who have studied international relations or are interested in foreign policy. It can be for anybody, any field that is interested into making a difference in Canada and also in the world as well. And this is just a picture of my family, how they've always been a support team, my #1 fans, as I call them. And they are all here in Winnipeg, and I'm very fortunate to have them. So I will end by giving an advice to all of you. I know the audience who are watching, you know, or who will watch this afterwards, is really do not give up on your dreams, especially when you're somebody of color. You know, you may be feeling like you're not capable of doing this, but you know, if you have that mentality, if you have that attitude, you're not gonna get to where you want to get to. So you have to be like the picture I have here. You have to be stable, you have to trust yourself, you have to have ethics, you have to have passion, and then you'll get to the success. So finish your studies. You know, it's never too late to go to school. I've met people who are older than me and say, oh, you know what, I wanted to get my degree, but I don't think I can do it. You know, it's never too late. And as you get older, you will realize also, this is more for the younger people, you will realize also what you hope to do in your career. And you can make a difference at any age. Get involved in things that you are passionate about. And it can be, again, through volunteerism. Have a mentor or role model you look up to. That's always important. And be ready to have challenges. I'm not saying life is easy breezy. Be ready to be discriminated, you know, be ready to be put down, be ready to be discouraged. But again, you know yourself better than anybody else. So the way I live my life is, I know myself, I know what I've done, I know what I've achieved, and this is how I keep moving forward as well. And I'd like to say big thank you. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Merci beaucoup à tout le monde. J'espère que vous avez bien aimé cette présentation. Je peux prendre aussi vos questions en français si vous voulez. I can also take any questions you may have in French as well. And those of you who are on social media, you are welcome to follow me on Instagram, Miss_Global Citizen. And yes, that's it. Merci beaucoup, and thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup as well from our side, and thank you so much for such an inspiring talk. And I hope our audience, and especially young people, those who have tuned today, they would be duly inspired through your journey from, from far place, from Bucharest to Greece, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. So now at this point, Patricia, we'll welcome questions from our distinguished guest here, Mr. Gary and Sungai Muvingi. So please feel free to interact with Ms. Patricia, and the floor is now for the Q&A session.
Hi. So my name is Gary Sempt. I'd just like to welcome you all as well. I'm with a group that we call the Winnipeg Rotary Peace Builders Club. I'm an honorarian myself, but we do a lot of work trying to facilitate, inspire dialogues just like the one we're hearing today. So I'd like to begin by thanking our host, Dr. Kauser Ahmed, and the CRRIC organization and the platform that he's made available to us. When I think of people that facilitate and inspire change, Dr. Kauser is certainly one of those. So this morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, he hosted a group speaking on Bangladesh and the Rohingya issue. That moved into a more formal session where they actually introduced a Bangladeshi institute that he's establishing with others here and celebrated the 50th anniversary of the independence of Bangladesh. And so he's had an amazing morning, and then he's come to Patricia's platform here. And later today at 7 o'clock, he's working on another one that's part of our City of Winnipeg Anti-Racism Week that's dealing with a fellow who was the victim of a crime by a white supremacist and worked towards forgiveness and curing hate. So at 7 o'clock, you can join back at this CRRIC.org and click on that event. And this institute is amazing. So if you're interested in following academic research, dialogue, and joining between people, I really recommend that you actually check in on this site every once in a while. So Patricia, it was really fun listening to you. And the title that you chose for the event was Global to Local to Global. And we thought that was significant because of your background and where you've come from a global perspective to Winnipeg, which you call home. And Winnipeg's a remarkable city because it has so much to offer. But we do have challenges, and to deal with inclusion and the diversity issues that the City of Winnipeg is trying to address this week is so important. So you've mentioned some of the things that have influenced your life and what you've done. You've mentioned mentorship, and I think that's a really important thing as well. So maybe just speak for a moment. You are an example of a mentor, and that's what you're doing as we speak. But in your own life, what type of mentoring did you appreciate, and how would you recommend others seek out mentors? I really believe that people actually should almost actively seek out a mentor.
I would say, yeah, thank you for the great question, Gary. I would say definitely find, this is especially for the younger people, find something that you like to do. And if there's somebody there maybe that you volunteer with that, you could look up to, that could help you and guide you to sort of go into that, let's say, career path that you want to do, that's where it starts. So for my case, for example, that's how I started. At such a young age, I was maybe 14, 15, I got involved with a certain political party for the youth part. And I joined their, I guess, the youth portion or the youth group for it. And, and I met a lot of people there, and they got to, explain to me how let's say the politics works in Canada. And I was interested. I said, oh, okay, this is nice. I wasn't old enough to vote yet. But again, I volunteered. I helped out in campaigns. I attended meetings. I got to see how it's like door knocking, how it's like meeting with people. So again, like these are small things that I did, and I did have through there, I did have a mentor, that really helped me. And even now, he's still one of the people that I really look up to and kind of got me interested in Canadian politics. It was through that individual. That's just a small personal example. And another advice is you can't just go online and Google, find a best mentor in this field. No, again, this is something you have to figure out, what you hope to do. Is there somebody that I can meet that does that? So a mentor can also be your teacher if you're still in high school or in elementary school. It can also be your professor, or, it can also be a friend. If you have a friend that's always there for you, and they want to help you, encourage you, reach out to that friend, tell them, this is what I need as a guidance. So there's not really a right way to search for a mentor. There's various different ways for you to find the right mentorship.
Thank you, Patricia. You know, you also mentioned volunteerism as being so important. And I think of Winnipeg as an island. And that sounds funny, but it's so far to our next big city that in a way we're on a bit of an island. But we have so much culture and diversity here within our city. And one of the organizations that I think is remarkable is Folklorama. And Folklorama, I think, is the largest and oldest event of that type in the world. And I know that's one that you've had an interest in as well. But for others, I mean, really just there's so many organizations, whether it's the Winnipeg Folk Festival or others that you can participate in, and maybe share a bit of that experience of cultural groups that you've worked with.
Well, Folklorama is definitely one of them that I really love. I was so sad when it got canceled due to the pandemic, but it's a great group to get involved with because, again, it's about celebrating the diversity and promoting cultural understanding. And that is the motto of Folklorama. It's about, understanding the different cultures that we have here in Winnipeg, or I guess in Canada, you would say. And it's a great place to volunteer because not only you get to understand your own culture, let's say, like myself, I wasn't born or raised in Africa. I grew up with African parents. Of course, I speak Swahili, and Belgian French and a little bit of Lingala. But then when I go to Folklorama and when I volunteered at the Africa Pavilion, I felt like this is as close as I could get to Africa. And it was great. I felt so happy. Like I would always walk there with a smile and everybody's like, she's always in a good mood during Folklorama, even those long days. But it was because I felt like I understand more my culture, and also I got a chance to understand other cultures as well, and that's another great organization to get involved with. I would encourage to volunteer any community groups. And the best things about Folklorama is all community groups are welcoming. So you don't particularly have to be from that group to volunteer. So I can go to the Serbian pavilion, for example, and let's say if I want to volunteer and understand more about the Serbian culture, so I would ask the coordinator and they'll be like, yes, please come volunteer. And then there's other events, I guess, like Folk Fest is also good. And even the Rotary is also good to be part of it, because when I joined that, they do a lot of great work for here and also for around the world. And again, you meet people that have worked overseas and people from different backgrounds, from different countries. And this is also an organization that's global. So there is a chance that, again, after this pandemic, that you could travel to the Rotary International Conference, I believe that's what it's called, or the symposium, and, and meet Rotarians from different parts of the world. So there's so many organizations that, you can volunteer, sign up for, or even just go and check it out. Because from there, you meet all these people, you connect with these people, and that could lead to one place to another. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you. I'll let others ask a few questions, but really interesting to hear you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you. Songai, if you have any questions for Patricia, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Khalzahmed, for having me on this platform today. And Patricia, it's always good to see you. And just like Patricia said, like being involved in different community events is probably like the best way to actually build both cultural and racial integration between peoples. I've been fortunate to be involved with Rotary for well over a decade, and through Rotary, I've had the pleasure and honor of meeting Dr. Khalzahmed and Gary Sempt, as well as Patricia. That's actually how I got to meet her. But Patricia, thank you so much for sharing your experiences. The question that I have for you is, what advice would you give to people from different cultures who are struggling with a way to find their voice to be able to actually have an impact? I know for myself, like when I was going through university, the challenge that I had was there really were not a lot of Black people in my university. So I was constantly being called upon to either take part in like the photo shoots for their promotional materials, to be a speaker, something that I wasn't quite as comfortable. So what advice would you give to people to kind of step into that role, so to speak?
Good question. Thank you, Sungai, for that. The advice I would give is really step up. That's number one thing. I would say, if you feel like you have this great idea, you have to trust your gut and tell that idea. If we kept quiet and not being vocal about certain things, we wouldn't have moved forward as we are now. I'm not saying things are perfect, but I'm saying if we kept things without, saying it out loud, we wouldn't, be where we are right now. So that question is very good because I have met a lot of people in that situation where they don't know, or they don't have confidence in themselves, or they put themselves down. I would really say, don't have that attitude. As hard as it is, I'm not saying it's easy. You got to push forward because I can encourage you, do something. But again, I'm not going to be the one who's going to do it. It's going to have to be you. So this is something that, younger people or any people of all age, have to kind of go forward and say it. That's why I'm saying, be vocal and say what you need to say.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Another question that I have for you is, you're very well traveled. You've lived in a few different places. What advice would you give to especially youth who are either immigrating to a different place or we're having to move around quite a bit? That can be quite a challenge in terms of like adjusting to different cultures. As much as we want people to adjust to our culture, we also have to do the same. So what advice, like what worked for you to adjust in all the different places that you lived in?
Get to know the people, that's the first thing, because if you move to a different country, get to know that culture and also teach those people about your culture. So that's how we've always lived like that with my family. It's not like we give up our culture and take another culture. No, we still keep our culture, but we also learn about the other cultures too. So that's the beauty thing about Canada, is that, you move to this country and there are so many different cultures. You meet people from all over. And for some people, they can feel like, no, I don't want to interact with these people. I just want to be with my own culture. And that's actually a problem. I think that's a problem. I think it's important I'm not saying don't interact with your ethnic group. You can, that's very good to do that. But at the same time, you have to also interact with other ethnic groups, because now that you live in Canada, you will get to work in the future or have to deal with people from different countries. So if you are just stuck with your own, ethnicity, it's going to be very challenging for you to adjust here. So that's basically what I have to say to that. It's really important, and it's something that I really see that newcomers struggle with, and I understand that could be also because of language barrier, or maybe they can't speak English or French, so that can be very challenging. So they're more comfortable with their community group, which I totally understand. But at the same time, if you want to build a career here in Canada, there's opportunities for you to take language lessons, English or French, and also, slowly start making friends from different parts of the world. And, that's how you also get to practice those languages too. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much, Patricia.
Thank you very much. Patricia, we have an interesting question from one of our viewers in Facebook, and here it is for you, flashed in the screen. If you are okay, then I will put it back.
I would say that is a very good question. Again, this is not, see, many people think you, as a person of color, because I'm educated, it's why I got into where I am right now. There are so many people of color who are maybe not as super educated, but they've still achieved a lot. So again, it's about determination, and it's about self-confidence in those things. And to answer that question, it's just about yourself and what what you want to do and how confident you are in yourself. And don't let people step on you because you are of a certain color, or maybe because you don't have a PhD or a master's. Somebody with the PhD cannot be as smart as somebody with just a high school degree. The education doesn't identify all the time who you are. It's mostly about your ambition, your maturity, your determination. Those are the things that make you who you are and how you want to move forward in your life.
Thank you very much, Patricia. We don't have a question per se, but it's an interesting comment by Tatiana Petrovich. And here she says, and if you read, and if you would like to comment on Tatiana's statement here. Oh, the last sentence is meant for us. Thank you very much, Tatiana.
Yes, I read it. It's a very good point, actually. I just want to add to that briefly. That's how it was for me, living in those countries, and understanding those cultures. And also, again, important to share my culture and for them to share their culture with. So that's an amazing thing. And also back to Canada, this is why I don't think I mentioned that in my PowerPoint, but this is why I feel like my whole life has been like Canada, because it's always been like my culture, other cultures, understanding my culture, me understanding their culture. Therefore, let's, try to work together. So that's how I saw my life growing up in those countries as well.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Gary, do you want to say some concluding remarks? Then I will wrap up the session.
Yeah, well, again, I would like to just thank you, Patricia, and I hope there are folks that are listening will try to share this more broadly. The idea, I'd like to also compliment the mayor of City of Winnipeg, because we're having this anti-racism week, and some excellent staff that they have there, Noel DePap and Galucia Boro. They put together quite an amazing program, and it really behooves us to get out and speak to each other. Everyone that is in this field emphasizes storytelling, and what you've done is told us a bit of your story. Your story is much deeper than what you've been able to share with us today, but that's what we need to do, is get out and speak to each other. We're all from somewhere else in some way, and Canada has gone through waves of some racism, discrimination against just about everybody, but we're such a mixture here that once we realize that and can share our stories, we can create more belonging. And I really think you've mentioned the importance of family, which has been supportive to you, mentorship, basically democracy that we have here, that you can be engaged in government at an early age. So you've mentioned many important features, and I'd just like to thank you for your presentation today. And Sangai, thank you, because you just jumped in very quickly here to say hello, and we appreciate you being here as well. Thank you.
So while we were speaking, we have received another very nice comment, and I am very tempted to share, if you kindly agree, before we wrap up. So here is the comment.
Yes, I saw that's a very big question. I would say, the world is not perfect, but I would say, compared to the States, Canada, we are better, but there's still things that we need to work on. Again, like I said, the world is not perfect, so be ready for that. But at the same time, because you are other, don't let that hurt you or put you down. And make sure you embrace yourself and you say, I am just as Canadian as you, because if we look technically, the real Canadians are Indigenous people. We're all immigrants, we're all others. We all came to this country from England, from Africa, from various different places. So nobody is really an other. I would say, we're all others, but Indigenous people are the actual Canadians. So really don't let that comment, or whenever you see people say that, put you down, because you are going to keep seeing that. I'm not saying there's going to be world peace tomorrow, but this is something that you have to put in your mind mentality, that everybody is an immigrant here. We're all visitors in this country. The actual Canadians are Indigenous people, and I'm here to build my life. I'm here to contribute to our country, and I'm not here to be divisive in this country.
Thank you so
Patricia,
much.
Kauser, can I just mention too,
Yes.
we share about 99.9% of our DNA. So all of us that are here share so much more than our differences. So when we say the other, we should maybe start with the proposition that we are all part of the human race, and that's perhaps the most important thing. So when we face things like climate change or nuclear threat, we are all bonded together by our commonality, and surely we can share those differences really as assets. And those differences are so rich to be able to understand. It doesn't matter what background you have, and when people think, white people and privilege, well, most of the white people that are in Canada, if you go back just a matter of some years or generations, came from a displaced background that was often difficult, violent, not easy to live in. So I would go back to my grandmother, who was an immigrant from Russia and left during the Russian Revolution. But she was really from Germany originally, maybe in the 1500s. So who knows? Our backgrounds are so different. But so many of us, just a generation or two, have had a very difficult background, and we work together to improve our lives. And for newcomers, that's the dream. And the newcomers are so productive to our economy. It's amazing. If you speak to people who really are in business, how hard the newcomer group helps to support our country economically and otherwise.
Thank you so much, Gary, for these additional remarks. So, dear audience, it is the last part of our session. We would like to thank and express our gratitude for Patricia and Sungai Movingi and Gary Sempt to appear here and share their ideas. Most importantly, dear audience, you have heard the journey of Miss Patricia and when and how it started and where she is now. It's a story of hope, and that is very important in the week of anti-racism. Let me also share a bit of the Mayor Brian Bowman, who announced this week, and he categorically specified that the idea or intention of this anti-racism week is about asking difficult questions. For example, he mentioned that, I quote here, "What would Winnipeg look like without racism?" unquote. So this is what is the question that the mayor has put forward before us. And also he goes on to say that as a city, we understand the negative impact of racism cannot be eradicated if we do not acknowledge it exists. And that is super important as well. And the title of the whole anti-racism campaign in the city is made on a point that it says, "Shine a light into the darkness." And this is what we are trying our best as a partner, Rotary Club of Winnipeg Peace Builder Committee and Conflict and Resilience Research Institute, Canada. So we have done our part today, and we listened intently what Ms. Patricia told us and showed us. She's an exemplary person in terms of proving that the othership doesn't work always. You are subjected to a lot of issues in this society, but that does never dampen your spirit. You should not be undermined with the challenges that you encounter day by day. And of course, going back to the commentator Phyllis Reed Jervis said, it is system. Yes, we understand. And yes, we have to work within the system just to change it so that it is good for all of us. So I would like to conclude here once again by thanking Ms. Patricia to share 1 hour of her life with us. And I hope, dear audience, you are duly encouraged and inspired. So have a nice rest of the day, and wherever you are, remain happy and remain blessed. Goodbye and good afternoon.
Thank you.